Welcome back to another episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. It's the Healthy Habits and Lifestyle Coach, Joe Bonnie. Y'all, we got a whole vibe of an episode today with Mackenzie Endo Care Collective. But before we get all into it, y'all already know what time it is. Vibe with me, y'all. Welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. Yo, Mackenzie, welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm excited to have you in the building. Oh, you're welcome. You're very welcome. So, go ahead and let everybody know who you are.
Okay. Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Mackenzie Hart. I'm the founder of Endo Care Collective. I started Endo Care Collective a few months ago, the beginning of 2024, as a support group, primarily to assist women going through getting diagnosed with endometriosis, adenomyosis, PCOS, an array of pelvic pain disorders, primarily because I was diagnosed way later in my life, later than I would have liked to be. It took 9 years for me to get a diagnosis, which is crazy and unacceptable. So that's my fire and passion that's burning inside of me to spread awareness so people don't have to wait 9 years for a diagnosis. And so especially young women can know more about endometriosis.
I love it. And I appreciate your passion to even want to provide that type of support. I hate that it took 9 years. Yeah, 9 years.
Yep, 9 years.
9 years to be diagnosed with endometriosis.
Yes, and adenomyosis. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, it took me 7 months. 7 months all the way through, and I have never seen anyone else have that short of a time frame. And I know for a fact it's because I had healthcare professionals that actually knew me, had a good relationship with me, took my symptoms serious, and knew that I need to go get imaging done and navigate through that entire journey. And for those of you who don't know, it was August of 2019, and I contacted my nurse practitioner after some debilitating chronic pain. I was driving to work and I felt it on my right side, and I ended up swerving into a lane with an 18-wheeler, and I had just enough strength to pull back into my own lane. And I was just like, I don't know what is wrong with me. I am not someone that stays sick often at all, and it kind of scared me. I was already hurting earlier that day, the night before, and I had this same type of pain back in April of 2019. So it's been a few months. And she told me to go to the ER to get imaging. When I got the CT scan and the imaging, they saw a large cyst on my right ovary. And so I'm thinking it was that ruptured cyst that caused me to be in that type of pain. Had that cyst not ruptured, I don't know how long it would have taken me to even know that something was going on inside of me. Went to my OBGYN. Didn't want to get on the birth control. I really wanted to make sure it was endometriosis because she suspected it. So she told me that she could send me to a specialist. It just so happened that her specialist was her husband. Went to her husband, and he did everything that I needed to do. I went and had a colonoscopy. I saw a endocrinologist, and we just got stuff prepared for excision surgery. And it happened March 3rd, 2020, before the pandemic. And it was stage 4 endometriosis. PCOS was confirmed with my facial hair and irregular periods. Hormones kind of checked out the way they did with the labs. And I only knew what endometriosis was after the diagnosis and started looking around. So I bet if you were already in place with Endo Care Collective, I probably would have found you and would have been able to be a part of your beautiful community that you just started just now. My question for you, though, Mackenzie, is what type of resources and systems do you kind of already have in place so people know right now that Endo Care Collective is where I need to go and where I need to be?
So the resources that I have in place are Instagram. Of course, I publish many things on Instagram. I primarily take the comedy route because I'm pretty comedic in my personality. And you'll see that if you follow me. And then we have a support group on Facebook as of right now. I'm in the process of getting a website created just so I can have one cohesive place with information and links. And I'm going to put a link tree together so I can have some other things for people to see when they visit my Instagram profile. But primarily, what I offer is just community, just me and the other people that are part of the community. It's just an opportunity to not only share your story, but to be heard. Of course, if you're sharing your story, the hope is that you'll be heard, but to spread awareness and to foster a supportive and responsive community. Because I know there's a lot of support groups out there, but they're not necessarily interactive and you can't get in touch with people. They're not readily available. So I want to kind of change that stigma there. But yeah, so that's what I'm offering to the public, my public service.
I love it. And what I love most about it is people need a place to share their story, and they need a safe space to share their story, because when you're able to share your story in a safe space, it's a way that you're kind of confirming and affirming that this really did happen. This is real life, but it's not only just happening to me. And the beautiful thing that I've noticed because of social media is that nobody has the same endometriosis journey. Nobody has the same endometriosis symptoms. Like, it definitely varies. Not everybody with endometriosis has adenomyosis, like both of us. There's levels to the endometriosis. There's locations and specifics when it comes to the adenomyosis. It's such a multi-layered condition that it's hard for us to understand it just being a person with the conditions, let alone having to express it to other people just to get support. And so being able to come to someone who already knows, or a space of people who kind of are already aware of this weird, unique condition that's going on, it helps take away some of the, well, let me try to explain it to you so then you can find a way to be there for me, when it's already, hey, we already kind of know, let's vibe and see how we could be supportive. Let's vibe and see how we can empower each other. But just the fact that you've created space for someone to share their story matters most. Because there's not a lot of people that's going to say, hey, I want to get on your podcast to share my story. That stories can be very personal, very personable, to where they don't even want to share because they might be judged, or people don't take it serious. They don't take their pain, their story, their diagnosis as serious as someone who had to navigate through the healthcare system, had to advocate for their pain. What did that look like for you, Mackenzie? Where did this all start for you when it comes to symptoms and pain? And you said it took a whole 9 years. Start at the beginning of your journey and kind of tell us, where did this even start for you?
Well, this is my favorite part, and this is why I was saying my passion and fire. I can feel it whenever anybody asks me. I'm like, you want me to tell you about endometriosis? Even in the gym, I'll be like, do y'all know about endometriosis? Because it has affected every aspect of my life for so long. And now I'm on birth control and I'm just learning how to, I don't have to have anxiety around my period. But back to your question, what it looked like for
love
me.
that. We're going to come back to that
We'll
anxiety
come
around.
back to that. We'll hop
Go
back.
ahead.
But as far as what it looked like for me, my journey started when I was around 12 or 13. I got my period, and it was a rocky road from there. I was hit with excruciating, debilitating, agonizing pain from day one. So it was typically day 1 and 2 that I wouldn't be able to walk. I would crawl. I would throw up. TMI, but it's never TMI. It's to spread awareness. I would have bad diarrhea. I would have cold sweats, hot sweats, chills. And there was a time it got so bad I was in the tub, just laying in the tub. And I mean, I just truly didn't know what to do because I was 12, 13 years old. And you have to think this was 10 years ago. So yes, the internet was around, but I wasn't on my iPhone and on TikTok and could find things like that. So then progress a year or a year and a half later, my mom took me to my OBGYN who actually had delivered me. So we had a great relationship. And she put me on birth control and gave me some ibuprofen, which I make a lot of jokes about ibuprofen because you might as well have given me a lollipop. The ibuprofen did nothing. I mean, what I was like, this is not helping me at all. So for a while, I would take the placebo pills and have a period. And I was like, this still doesn't feel better. And it progressively got worse. I now know that I have hindsight, 2020. Then I decided to get off of birth control because I was experiencing so many adverse effects. And I was like, okay, I'm just done with it. And I have been on the same birth control for about 6 years almost. And, I've learned now that you're supposed to change it as your body changes. So, about every 4 years, maybe reevaluate, like, is this still working for you? But I never got that reevaluation, got off the birth control. The periods were just as bad as they had been, probably worse. I remember my first period after being off birth control, and I had went out to eat with my friend thinking I would be fine, and I threw up and came back. I was in college at the time, and I was on the floor, couldn't move. Like, it was just a really, like, when I think about it and reflect on it, it was really rough, and just it's made me stronger because now I'm empowered. Literally, I'm empowered to share my story and want to help other people and let people know that this isn't normal and that's not okay. And you shouldn't have to try to function and scratch your way through the day. Like, can I muster up the courage to walk? You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, so that was terrible. And then I began advocating for myself only about a year and a half ago, or really like to actually get angry. Like, I had to get upset and fed up. That's what it took for me because I was just taking what the doctor said, trusting that she had been my OBGYN for 7 years, that she, even though she hadn't been listening to me, just we had a rapport. So I was like, oh, it would be too much to leave her. Maybe let me try to plead my case a few more times. And after getting so tired of pleading my case, it was just one day I was like, I'm done with this. I'm literally in so much pain. I could barely drive there and like drive to my appointments sometimes. So it got to the point where I was like, you're really not listening to me. So I actually got recommended a endometriosis specialist by a family that I had nanny for. They were doctors as well. And she was great. The first appointment, I told her what was going on. I really pleaded my case. I was prepared. I had my notes because I was like, I'm so tired of this. I don't understand why I'm saying the same thing and no one's listening. And I just told her, I was like, I really need help. Like, that was the end. I was like, please help me. I don't know what else to do. And she's like, that's not normal. And she scheduled me for surgery. And it ended up being that was the one. I literally was like, I want you to be my doctor forever. I was so happy. I had gotten them gifts, like her office gifts, because it was just so, like, finally, like a breath of fresh air. Like, goodness gracious, why did this take so long? I mean, I'm not even being dramatic. You know what I mean? I'm telling you guys.
Not at all. My thing is, I love that she said that's not normal. And
Yes.
that's
And
kind
I
of
was
like my
like,
biggest thing
yeah.
because what I took was normal, like going through what I've been going through. Because, like, when you talked about like being at school, being sick,
Mhm,
throwing up, nauseous, I had that experience in the 6th grade. And I had no idea, looking back after getting that
mhm,
diagnosis, it's always once someone says this is what's going on inside of your body, then you start thinking about all the things you kind of pushed to the side,
mhm,
found reasons to validate or excuse. It
mhm,
was, I got sick and I was like very sick. And I never even thought it was because my period was on, but I knew my period was on. I got sick after eating lasagna from the country kitchen line. And I was thinking it was food poisoning.
mhm.
Everybody else was at school the next day. I wasn't the only person who had lasagna that day. So I was just kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, Ma, do you remember when that happened? And then fast forward, it was missing my periods. It was like, oh, because you're a dancer. Oh, because you're very active. Your
Mhm,
periods don't always come on. Or, oh, maybe it was something you ate or you were stressed. You're going to miss your period.
mhm,
And so it was like, okay, so I guess that's normal. The facial hair, family members have that too. So I'm thinking I just get it from, when
mhm,
the hot sweats, you talked about like sweating
mhm,
when the hot sweat started coming and I started sweating like my shirts and everything at night. Like I have to just
mhm,
start stripping things in the middle of the night. And I'm like, oh, when my granddaddy sweats at night. So again, I'm just automatically chunk
mhm,
it up to family,
mhm,
genetics, something else, giving it a reason before I said, you know what? Now that I have a diagnosis and I'm seeing all these different symptoms and everything on, that wasn't normal. And
yeah.
so it's at a
Yeah.
point now where I'm just like, it ain't normal. So let's stop
Yeah.
normalizing what's not normal. Let's start telling people what we experience so they can say, oh, it was my normal. But it wasn't. It was normal. And so it's at a point now where I'm just like, it ain't normal. So let's stop normalizing what's not normal. Let's start telling people what we experience so they can say, oh, it was my normal. It wasn't. It was my normal. But now I'm realizing that's not the normal thing that's supposed to go if you're a healthy well-being. So it was a few things you said, Mackenzie. It was one, how did those doctors that you nannied knew that it was endometriosis, since you've been having painful periods and issues, showing all the signs since you were younger with this OBGYN that actually delivered you? How did they know to hook you up with the endometriosis specialist to better figure it out?
Because I was, when I say pleading on my knees praying, I had got to my wits end, really. I was just so distraught and frustrated by my period, the fact that I was missing out on events and things I wanted to really do. And we can talk about that later, but I can distinctively tell you times I missed stuff or where I was because I was on my period and it was so bad. But they knew to connect me with an endometriosis specialist because she actually had endometriosis, the lady I nannied for. And I was telling her, I was like, this is everything I'm going through. Like, it's so bad. This can't be normal. The amount of pain, it feels like I should be in birth, like delivering a baby.
So it
And
took
she was like,
someone who already knew.
yes, it took somebody who knew, which is why, which motivated me even more. I'm like, man, I really have to do something about, I have to at least tell people, at the very least, me sharing my story and telling people like, this is what I went through. So if you have even one of these symptoms, go somewhere
It
else.
ain't normal. Follow
It's not
through.
normal. So stop trying to make it like, and I did that too. And I think it's so detrimental to our health to not listen to our body. Your body will tell you if something's wrong. And my body told me for 9 years and was crying, literally screaming. And I'm like, well, the doctor says it's okay. Like, no, it's not okay. Actually, it was terrible. So yeah,
So what
it
do you
took
think, Mackenzie, would be a way that the healthcare system could improve to better hear our concerns here and make our symptoms real enough for them to do something about it sooner? It took you 9 years. It only took me 7 months, but it took a person that you were serving that had endometriosis, that was a doctor, to better send you to a specialist to actually get the help that you actually needed. What do you think would help improve the healthcare system to better navigate it for us, to help us better navigate the healthcare system for conditions like endometriosis, adenomyosis?
That is a wonderful question. That's a great question that I'm going to post in my support group. But but I really think awareness more than anything. And I don't say that as a blanket statement because this is true for me. I went to an OBGYN who had been practicing for 20 plus years and didn't mention endometriosis to me. So that's probably the most profound, salient thing that really stands out to me about my whole healthcare journey. She had been practicing for longer than I had been alive and didn't tell me about this disease that I had. You know what I mean? And I'm saying the most common symptoms. If you look up endometriosis symptoms, everything I'm saying, that's exactly what it was. So like I could have diagnosed myself really if I would have known sooner. But I say awareness as in I know I'm not well versed in the medical field, and I'm sure doctors and medical professionals keep up to date, but just kind of advocate. Well, you have to advocate for yourself, but also advocating and understanding your patient's needs. But that starts with the person, so that's a little more difficult. But as far as healthcare goes, just that awareness probably, and not normalizing things. I really think it's the not normalizing. Okay, your period, you can have cramps, yes, but if I'm telling you I'm crawling on the ground, that might be indicative of something way worse. You know what I mean? Than just your average cramp. So, not normalizing in awareness, and maybe talking to some people that have like gone through laparoscopies and had/have endometriosis, adenomyosis, PCOS, because I'm sure many OBGYNs have patients that have these pelvic disorders, but I don't know. That's really a good question because
I like it. I like that you said that. I like that you said awareness in education, because maybe if more OBGYNs, more primary care physicians are aware of endometriosis. They can say, okay, these are the symptoms. This is what's happening. This is what I see that you're actually experiencing. You know what? This is a problem. But I feel like they pass us off with our pain as if it's not real, or as if we're over exaggerating, or that the pain that we are experiencing can be a pill. Like you said, the ibuprofen, that was a joke to you. That did nothing for you. And then sometimes I even know from my own experience, because I think it was like after surgery, like the Tylenol codeine, you know, like it's taking some of those will make you even more sick and make you want to throw up and be even more nauseous versus the nausea that you are already experiencing with your body trying to now recover from an intensive like surgery, as you know, excision surgery for stage 4 endometriosis, where you know scar tissue, lesions, cysts are covering so many different organs and fallopian tubes stuck together. Like that's a lot. So I do agree. I do agree that education is key, but it's not even just your OBGYN. Those emergency room doctors, because a lot of times we're coming into the emergency room and we're not even seeing our regular people who know us. Like they have to sometimes be the ones to say, hey, this type of pain during the period is probably endometriosis. You might need to go see so-and-so. Just like when I had to go to urgent care after getting it, you might need to go make an appointment with your OBGYN. You might need to take this back to another provider. And it's everybody has to get educated. And I don't know if you've heard about the Endo Care Act, the Endometriosis Care Act.
Yes,
so I know
I have.
Yeah, and so I feel like we're slowly making strides to create that more awareness and that advocacy on realizing, if you know this is such a chronic condition that has a lot of debilitating pain around it, why not make it a serious situation in regards to how you diagnose it and how you treat it? Because we know that there's no cure. So it's if the conversations are already being had and you're experiencing, and it's not like endometriosis isn't common. It's like one
I
in 10.
I have a theory. I believe really in my heart of hearts, it's more than 1 in 10, because for you to get diagnosed, you have to have surgery. So account for the people who can't afford, don't have medical insurance.
Oh, that talk, Mackenzie.
Or just dismiss their pain. Don't get me started. Or dismiss their pain, or even people like me. I was just one person away from being even more delayed in being diagnosed. If I didn't nanny for them and they didn't tell me, oh, I think this is what it is, or you should go here, then I would have probably just kept suffering and got on birth control and just keep getting on birth controls and never knowing, and I think that's really worse than anything. If I would have never known, I would have probably felt crazy, really, because
and a lot of people do feel crazy because
isolating.
people aren't taking it serious. And you do like, what is happening to me? What is wrong with me? Well, it's just your period. No, this is bigger than a period. Endometriosis is a whole body experience. Like people are finding endo in lungs, in brains. It's like, nah, stop it. In your sinus cavity. Like,
I know. I know.
So it's just like it's not just the period situation, but if your periods, I feel like that's the big area of focus. If your period is on and you're having these type of symptoms because of your period, then this is showing that something else is happening, because we clearly know it's the uterine wall growing on the outside of yours that usually goes on the inside, that clearly when that period happens is when we're experiencing the symptoms. That's why it's such a womb health thing that people are considering it to be, when we know it's bigger than that and it can go to so many different other places. But it was something you said. If it wasn't for the person you met, if it wasn't for the nanny that had endo, you wouldn't have gotten the diagnosis. You wouldn't have got the proper support that you now have now. And if it wasn't for me actually having a nurse practitioner and a primary care physician that's my sorority sister, had I not chose them as my place to get help, I probably wouldn't have felt like something was even right or wrong. And then who else would have dismissed me if I had someone else that
many
didn't?
people. The answer is many.
And that's why I said, no, I am not I can't sit in my privilege of being able to get a 7-month diagnosis when some people have to go 17 years, 9 years, anything about what's actually happened, or not provide a space like you have with Endo Care Collective, just for people to share their stories, just for people to get resources and be more aware. The Empowered Place, Empowered Lives podcast specifically would love to hear from people with endometriosis, adenomyosis, polycystic ovary syndrome, fibroids, because those are all the things that I had no idea was going on in my body, to actually come forward and talk about their journey of strength. It's in the story sharing and telling that people something else and know that they're not alone. And that's the whole point of it. But if I can get plant-based chefs, if I can get other people that have other health issues and health journeys, it can then allow other people to know there's still hope after a condition. That condition doesn't define you. It just better helps align you with a purpose, like Endo Care Collective, like Four Vibrations Wellness Program, like the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives. Like, it provides a lane of purpose to be driven through passion because of something that occurred to us. You know what I mean? And I think that's what I love most about us being out here, just doing any and everything we can to just show up, not as endometriosis, but someone who is overcoming obstacles every single day to help also raise awareness from conditions that have no cure. But we're saying we're still vibrant, we're still vocal, and most importantly, we're still to serve other people and help other people in what it is that we're actually doing. So how do you feel like your role with education and awareness is allowing people to change their perceptions when it comes to endometriosis?
Well, actually, I'm excited to announce I just had my first virtual meeting last month. Yes, I know. So the plan is to continue to host those, to continue to grow each month. And as far as my virtual meeting last month, I had a few people share their stories. So I believe the question is, how have I empowered people?
Right? How have you been able to help change the perception of
change the perception
of others when it comes to endometriosis?
I think sharing my story and having other people share their stories and hearing other people's stories is a perception shift. Because when people hear my story, yeah, it took me 9 years. But whereas you might hear that and be like, oh, I didn't even know it could take somebody 9, 10, 12 years, because you just had what occurred to you, your pain, and then the people listening to you, and as you stated before. But yeah, I think just really it goes back to sharing the story. And I hate to keep saying the same thing, but I mean, as humans,
do you really, or do you understand how important it is to share?
I do. I think it's that. Let me rephrase. Cut that out. Let me rephrase. I understand how important it is and how impactful it can be, because even having one person in my group last month say, thank you for providing this platform and thank you for sharing your story, that could almost make me tear up. And it only takes one person. Even if you have an impact or can inspire one person, like, you're not alone, and this is just as serious as any other condition, and it deserves the same amount of attention and respect and care, and you deserve attention, respect, and care. It's so empowering. I do love it, and I just want to continue to grow and be able to educate people. And sometimes I wanted to touch on this for a second. Sometimes we don't feel equipped, but we're called. And when you're called, you definitely are equipped. And for me, it has came through my life experience, because for a second I was like, well, I'm not a medical professional. I don't know everything about endometriosis. But quite frankly, neither do the medical professionals, or else we would have these quick diagnoses. So I cut that out of my head really quick. I was like, they don't know all of it either, because I probably might know a little more. But I've not been I'm not dissing the medical professionals. I'm saying, as far as the people that don't tell people they could potentially have X, Y, and Z, endometriosis, adenomyosis, just quite frankly, because they don't either know about it or don't know the common symptoms. However, I now know the common symptoms and know what to look for, etc. So if anybody came to me and was like, this is what I'm going through, I could be like, oh, well, it sounds like endo or adeno, really, because adeno will really get you.
That'll will. We're gonna dive into that. But it was something you just said, and it was one, I was going to ask you about any success stories, and you just told me the one person that said, thank you so much for creating this space. That's already a success story. The next thing you said is, I just want to be there So whenever people are sharing a story, I can say, this might be this. Why would you want to do that? Because that's what helped you. And so all you're doing is you're taking the fact that someone poured into you, someone raised the flag and was like, hey, this might be what it is. Let me send you here. And so now all you're doing is showing back up to do that on a whole, like 10 times
Ooh, I love
level of
that.
what it is that you're having. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
love
what
that.
actually did it. So when you're sitting here saying, I might not be equipped to do this or do that, no, it's already been done for you. So now this is your way to actually pour back in and give back and help with pushing your own initiative forward because someone did it for you. And when it came to me, it was, I needed to take an approach because they said there's no cure to this. And I didn't want to look at all the things they said we can't have, we won't be able to do, what's going to be hard for us with endometriosis and polycystic ovarian syndrome. I didn't want to get into the science of it all. I wanted to say, what could I actually do to better help me reverse symptoms or still live a good life despite of? And so for me, it was changing my healthy habits, changing my habits, changing my lifestyle. And I did that slowly but surely because I now had a big why. My why was, there's no cure for this, but I have control of what I believe about myself. I have control about how I feel about myself, how I treat myself, how I show up and care for myself, because that shows how I love myself, despite not knowing what was going on in my body or what all was happening and how my body was responding to certain things. But it also took me into eating different things and seeing, once I started changing what I was eating, now my periods are regular. Not only are regular, I also am not having the pain that I was experiencing before. You know what I mean? And like you said, that adenomyosis pain is no joke. So every now and then I might get a little, I might still be around here. Don't forget about her. But it is very minimal because I'm not even used to pain anymore because of how my lifestyle has changed. And it was like, I shouldn't just keep that to myself because I know it's a complex whole body disease. I believe that it's mindset, mindful eating, and movement that's really going to make you feel good. That movement, that walking, Mackenzie, getting in them 4 miles, girl,
You
have
know
my
I walk.
you
You know
do.
I walk.
You do. But I'm
And I
talking about on
run.
the polycystic ovarian syndrome side. Like that part of it, that walking, that movement, it hits on a whole nother level because of the hormonal imbalances. So it's the M to the third degree healing empowerment formula for me that I know has been working. And so if it's working for me, I want to make sure I'm helping other people who might feel overwhelmed, depressed, mad at their body because this is what's happening to them. And it's like, no, you have to love on that body because you only get one. And so what are you going to do with that one that you do have? And what are you going to do with this vibrant life that you deserve? And so that was my 4 vibrations. That was what I was going to do. And I was just like, let's make it happen because that's what I felt led to do. And I sometimes feel like, well, I'm not the medical professional. I don't know everything that might be happening in someone's body. I don't know what all is happening in my body, but I do know what I have control over, and those are my choices. And if my choices lead me into a place where symptoms are being reversed and my life is vibrant, and I'm helping other people and they're doing that too, and they're used to going into the emergency room every single period since a child, and that's not happening for them, clearly what I got is working. Clearly really exploring eliminating stress, changing your diet, your eating habits, and actually being intentional about movement, something is going to shift in your body because now you're actually taking care of it and you're loving it and you're taking a different approach. You know what I'm saying? What is your approach with managing life with adenomyosis? Because what you were saying before with college, it don't sound like, do you still have those same days where you just can't do life? Like, what does it look like balancing life with these conditions?
So I want to, it's important to note that now I am on birth control again. So I'm on a lower hormonal birth control. However, before I got on birth control, I wasn't doing anything significantly different. I've always been active. My family, we never ate beef or pork. We just never did. So I eat chicken. I do eat meat though. But I've always been kind of mindful of what I eat. So it wasn't like I was just getting fast food every day. You know, I was trying to have a balanced plate. I do eat fruits and vegetables and, you know, get all the dietary needs that your body request of you and take my vitamins, stuff like that. I would say I was fairly healthy. Now in college, they say the freshman 15. For me, that was probably like the sophomore, junior 15. I don't know why, it just happened that way. So I stopped moving as much. But then I would say that definitely probably did have a significant impact. I would be interested to see how, if I were to get off birth control now, how maintaining the same lifestyle I have now, because I am even more mindful of what I'm consuming and do try harder and have a different mindset and have more education. I would be interested to see how my body reacts. But I also want to touch on how defeating it can be when your mindset gets right and you're set on changing what you eat, but then you're not seeing the results as fast as you want. Or because I did try that for a little bit and that was devastating, like thinking, okay, I'm doing everything I think I'm supposed to be doing, and then nothing's happening. I'm still in pain. I'm still on the ground, still can't drive.
Can you
So
break that down for us, Mackenzie? What that looked like? Because that could help someone right now. So
oh
you're
yeah.
trying something different. You're taking a different approach. Why do you believe it didn't work? Was it overwhelming? Was it too many changes
Oh
at one time?
yes.
Like really give us that
Mhm.
insight of what this looked like, because you're having this condition and you're trying different things. What can
Yeah.
you walk us through that?
Yes, of course. So for me, trying different things after I got off the birth control, I still was eating fairly healthy, like I mentioned. And then I had found a coach, a wellness coach, you could say, who was guiding me. But it did feel very difficult, and it wasn't difficult because I had the mindset of wanting to be better. But I think for me personally, it's easier if you have a meal plan and things are laid out. So if this helps anybody, if you do get dietary restrictions on how you should eat, make meal plans, make grocery lists, have things in your refrigerator that if you want a snack, it could be a healthy snack or something that's nourishing to your body. So for me, I think it was just a lot of changes at one time that I was trying to make drastically because I wanted so desperately to get better that it wasn't sustainable. That's the main point. What I was doing wasn't sustainable because it was so many changes in one short period of time, and then when I wasn't getting better, I was getting mad, and then I was like, you know what, like forget it. And then also another thing is when people get hungry, your feelings change. So with dietary restrictions, I started to get hungry and I'm like, I don't know how much longer I can do this. Like, I don't know what else to eat. I'm trying to eat healthy. So
I
I
like
think,
that, Mackenzie, and I appreciate you for walking us through that, because that's true. When it's too many changes at one time, it gets overwhelming and now it becomes stressful. And stress adds more inflammation to the issue. And we
mhm.
already kind of know scientifically, because I know you said you know a little bit more than some of the doctors. I don't know a lot. I don't know a lot. But I do know when it comes, stress exacerbates
Mhm.
inflammation. And so if you're stressed about making the different changes, you're not
Mhm.
embracing that with a positive, optimistic vibe and energy that your body's
Mhm.
ready to receive it all, because now you're overwhelmed with so many different decisions. And so if you don't have that proper support with navigating through the changes, you're not going to stick with it. And the whole purpose of you even going through with the coach was what? What was your motivation with going through with the coach? What said, I'm a clock in. I'm
I'm
gonna
going
check
to
in with the
try.
coach. I'm gonna do this. What motivated you to do that?
Probably just reduced pain because I've been in pain or had been in pain for so long. It became so frustrating. Like, what can I do? I would almost do anything. I wouldn't do anything, but I would almost do anything because it was even at a point where I was taking narcotics to manage the pain. They were prescribed by the doctor, and taking nausea medication and just like drug cocktails, and nothing was helping. I was still in the same amount of pain, no matter if I took it before my period came or after or during the pain or after it. Nothing made a difference. So I
And you
just
know why
wanted.
I feel like it didn't make a difference? I feel like your body wasn't created to respond to all of those different types of things. And I think
Mhm.
It's very creative. A pharmaceutical approach is very creative. And I'm not knocking anybody who, does
Yeah.
medicine, because I really have taken medicine before myself. I just told you Tylenol, codeine. Like after surgery, if they're giving you something and you're trying to bear with what's happening. So I'm all for that. But to me, I feel like a lot of times when your body's telling you this isn't working, not helping, it's not doing what you said you wanted it to do, it's time to look into a different option.
Yeah.
Like it's time to explore something else that will work. And I hope that that one experience doesn't stop you from still exploring ways to reduce your chronic pain, to eliminate your stress, and to have good period experiences. And I like that you said you are on birth control. And sometimes birth control is what's needed for people to survive until you can find those other options. And so if that's the hormonal therapy that your body responds to it, don't ever feel bad about it. Just make sure, like you said, you're taking the smallest dose possible to allow you to continue to live and live a life where you're not in a debilitating state so long that you don't have a good quality of life. So I thank you for exploring that and just saying my motivation is I wanted to reduce pain. So anybody out there, you want to reduce your pain and you
Yeah.
don't want to do it in an overwhelmingly stressful place, holla at your girl, because I definitely have the stamina to help you go through this together, because that's the whole purpose of why I do what I do. Is I want you to explore the foods, the mindset activities, and the movement that you enjoy, that your body responds to. And it takes time. It takes time to explore those things. So don't put yourself on a set time frame to automatically start seeing results. Like, go with your body. That's what I'm gonna say. Go with your body, grow with your body, evolve with your body throughout your healing journey. All right, so balancing. How do you balance this thing called life? How do you take care of you, Mackenzie?
Taking care of me. It looks like getting massages
Come on.
and I make sure I move my body every day, regardless of. I don't feel guilty if I don't make it to the gym, but I'll go for a run or walk or bike or just do a workout at home. And now my schedule has been so packed that now I'm learning to say no. Which anybody listening,
Ooh.
learn to say no. It's okay. It's not that I was a people pleaser. It's just that I love spending time. Love language is time for me. So anytime I can spend time with people and just take advantage of that, I would. But then that ended up being detrimental to me because I had so much to do each day that it's like I can't even enjoy my time with you because I have something else to do. So just those three things: moving my body, nourishing my body too, making sure I'm not eating stuff that makes me sleepy. I found chicken and waffles. I love chicken and waffles, but it makes me so tired. So that's like a extreme treat for me. But yeah, just doing all the things that feel good and make me vibrant and make me excited about life, trying different things, hobbies, things of that nature. But you spoke about not being feeling guilty because you're on birth control. I wanted to touch on that briefly. I had huge birth control guilt for a long time. I felt because I had got off of it, I felt like I should be strong enough, which that kind of makes me sad to say now because I was like, I was suffering really. And I was just like, I want to be strong enough. There's so many women that have their periods and can just be on their period and they're running. They're running. For me, that was crazy. For me, even walking, I'm like, how are y'all driving? You know what I mean? So for a while, I felt a little guilty, and that's why it was such a delay for me to get back on birth control. But now, the life I'm living, I'm like, I'm going to brush the guilt off. And if I were to try to empower my plates even more, I'm definitely not against it. And I definitely want to move towards that. I think I would have to try to do that while I'm on birth control so I don't feel that adverse effect in my mind like, oh, I placed a timeline and I should be feeling better. So I think incorporating those habits now while I'm not having the pain and then maintaining them as I would get off birth control would probably be best. Because I've thought about that a lot.
Love that approach.
Yeah, I
So
thought
to
about
me, it
that
sounds like don't delay. Start changing your lifestyle and your healthy habits
a lot.
now. So
Mhm,
eventually, if you feel led to get off the birth control, you've already explored other options of feeding your body, connecting to
mhm,
your body, loving your body. to where taking off the birth control is then going to be like, okay, now what's my response to cleansing my body from what I've been actually putting in hopes that that all aligns. But I love that approach, Mackenzie, and I hope anyone who just heard Mackenzie share her next attempt potentially down the line in her own personal healing journey, because it's her healing, how she would approach the healthy habits and lifestyle changes now. I absolutely love that. So because you had a poor experience with one coach, does that stop you from seeking additional support from other places? Or do you now feel like, well, let me just figure it out by myself because that was such a bad experience? Like, what are your thoughts moving forward?
Absolutely not. That doesn't deter me from reaching out to anyone else or seeking help, because I think community is so important, and I think you can't possibly know everything that you need to know. You have to get your information from somewhere anyways. So I would rather, instead of going online and getting a free ebook from somebody that doesn't know me or my symptoms or what I like to eat, I would rather connect with somebody. But yeah, that's not going to stop me at all. I actually have a coach in mind. Can you guess who it is? It's you. But but yeah, so when I'm ready, I definitely will start, I'll call it phasing out the birth control. It's just been
Mm,
really, dare I say, traumatic. It's been such a roller coaster that it's like it almost scares me sometimes. Like
right.
the birth control
You
really
told
has.
me that, and I was like, get it,
Yeah,
girl.
no, the birth control has just allowed me to delay. Like in my mind, I don't think about my period anymore because I'm not bloated all the time. I can work out
Mm.
all month, which that was really important to me, and I'm really happy about that. And I can take advantage of the summer months and don't have to be inside, like under my bed somewhere. But
How
yeah,
did that pain look for you? Was it just during your period, or did you actually have pain like before the period, after the period? It was various days throughout the month. What did that pain look like for you?
So, great question. And it's interesting that you asked that, because I noticed as I got older, the pain started to become longer. So, it would be when I was younger, it was just the day of. And then when I got off birth control around, let's say 19, 20, then, okay, it was the day of and the second day. And then when my body started to get fed up, when I told you I finally had been introduced to my doctor, my new doctor, it was like the week before I would be bloated. I would notice like, it was just things about my body that I had never really noticed before. My breasts would hurt. I would start to get hotter. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? And then I would look at my period tracker app and I'm like, oh, in 2 days, this makes a lot of sense. It was just, it was really ridiculous. I'm like, this is getting out of hand. So that's really what made me fed up, because I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I don't know why this is happening, but I've
I have a
watched your.
question for you.
Mhm.
You talked about your period tracker. Do you ever put down in your period tracker those symptoms that you were experiencing? The
Yeah,
tender breast,
I,
do
I
you ever
was.
add that information into that tracker, or you only just look at it for when your period is supposed to come next?
Well, I was for a short period of time, but like I said, when I said I got fed up, I was like fed up all around. So I was fed up with the period tracker and putting my symptoms in there, because I was like, well, what is this doing if my doctor's not listening? So, yeah, I mean, I was tracking my symptoms though for a period of time. And for me, that's why it's important to note that endometriosis, adenomyosis, all of these disorders can look so different for everybody, because my period was always on time. Always. Like, even if I were to get off birth control today, it would come, let's say it comes next month on the 16th, it's coming again the next month on the 15th or the 14th. Like, it's always on time. Which I guess I can count on her for that. But other than that, that's about it.
Right. I only ask because I really feel like, the more conversations I've had with people
Mhm.
on the podcast and that I'm just learning about, I feel like it is so important to notate symptoms and things that you're experiencing, so you take that information with you to your doctor, so they take
Mhm.
you a little bit more serious when you come. And
Mhm.
it's more so like, well, y'all not listening to me, let me not even put the notes
Yeah.
down anymore. it's
Mhm.
it's like, if they're not listening to you, you go find somebody else that will listen to you, because it doesn't just stop with that one person. Just like when you were fed up with the person who've known you all your life, as soon as you came out, like, no. But so I would say, if you know you're experiencing stuff that are not normal, you know you've been in pain and people aren't listening, document your experiences, your symptoms, and what you're having, and continue to push and advocate for the appropriate care that you deserve, and say, no, this has been happening for such and such amount of time, because you have the notes. Come in there more informed than your doctor. Why? Because it is your life, not theirs. And so I want you to know that you're worth taking the extra step to being aware of your body. So we're raising awareness for adenomyosis, endometriosis, polycystic ovary syndrome, potentially fibroids. We're telling you what our signs, our symptoms look like. We're telling you about what other people have experienced as well. But what we're telling you right now is you matter more than anything else. And so what you know about yourself, what you're experiencing about yourself, it matters. So don't ever think that it doesn't. So I just wanted y'all to know that, especially if you haven't gotten a diagnosis. Because once you get diagnosis, all that's telling you is you now know what's really happening. Now go learn about ways that you can heal, and go through a healing journey in regards to that, especially if there's no cure, because you don't want to sit there and continue to make things worse and continue to live how you've always lived, because you're not addressing and really empowering yourself to be intentional about loving you. And you just heard what Mackenzie said on how she shows up and loves herself and take care of herself. And now she knows that she has to take care of herself, and all the ways she takes care of herself, she gets to now go into her Endo Care Collective and share what's been working for her and what didn't work for her, so it can better help everybody else's journey. So make sure you know that your journey is just as valuable as anybody else's as well. Mackenzie, I'm a foodie, baby. It's called the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives. You talk about going to different restaurants and festivals. Are you a foodie too?
I am a foodie. Actually, for a short period of time, I had a Instagram dedicated to posting food. So now my friend has taken it over. She actually posts all the food because I got tired of posting the food. But yes, I do love food. Yes.
My question for you, as a foodie and a person who loves food and good food experiences, how important is it for you to still maintain good food experiences while embracing healthier habits and lifestyle changes when it comes to what you're consuming and what you're doing to better support your life and your healing journey?
I think it's of the utmost importance because I did notice when I was off of birth control and having my periods that obviously certain things would make me so bloated. Would my
What are
body?
those certain things? Talk to the people.
I knew
Talk
you
to
were
the
gonna ask.
people.
I knew you were gonna ask. Oh, you know what? Well, everyone, you know what everybody says dairy. I love dairy. I will admit, but it did make me bloated and have some other adverse effects. I'm not big on fried food because my body does not respond well to it. Period. I will say I noticed even more so when I was off birth control. My periods would be so they were already bad. Let me say they were at an 11 out of 10 already. But like if I ate some French fries a day or two before, it was like a 12, 13 out of 10. Like, so stuff like that. The seed oils, the fried foods, and dairy, primarily for me, it was those three things. But when I go out to eat, I don't eat out, like I said, like fast food often. So when I'm going to restaurants, I'll normally still try to balance with vegetables. And then, of course, I do eat turkey, as I said, turkey and chicken, but I'll try to still get something nourishing in the sense of like, oh, I'm still getting protein and, you know, a little bit of carbs. I love avocados. I just had to add that in for you because I love avocados.
And actually, I never liked avocado like that
Oh, I love.
until I actually didn't embrace avocado until I started my raw journey.
Oh,
And
okay.
I went to go get those same French fries that you talk about, and I still, just the smell of French fries right now, just thinking about it makes my mouth water. I love French fries, but right before I went on the raw journey, there
Mhm.
were certain fries that I would eat restaurants, and I felt like it was definitely the oil.
It's
But
the
we
oil.
also know that French fries aren't just straight potato, depending on where you're getting them from as well. And
Mhm,
also getting French fries from other places that cook chicken and meat and everything else, and it's all in that same oil.
mhm,
You brought the oils in. I'm just letting you know. You're right. Like wholeheartedly, the oils stopped settling well with my stomach all the time.
mhm.
And that played a part. And then when you take it back, cheese. I absolutely love cheese. And I'm not gonna say I don't love it anymore. It doesn't love me. I don't embrace it anymore because I know cheese
Mhm,
isn't what is necessary for my body to flourish and for
mhm.
me to get the nourishment that I need. It's only gonna cause more problems. But I absolutely love cheese. Like Olive Garden back in the day, just leave the grater. They'll be like, "Tell me when you're done. Tell
I
me
know.
when you're done." Like I heard
Mhm.
you the first time. Keep it cranking, please. Keep it cranking, please,
Yeah.
because that cheese is something totally different. Like you can't get
Mhm.
that kind of cheese in the store. Crank that bad boy all over this dish. So
Yeah.
I love cheese, and I totally understand where you're coming from. And the reason why I asked you about it is because sometimes it's our connection and our familiarity with certain foods that causes us to not embrace and have an open mind to trying different things that can be just as good. And
Mhm.
I know a lot of people say, well, why do vegans, I don't even say I'm a vegan, but like why do vegans, say this is chicken when it don't taste like chicken? Well, maybe that's their vegan version of chicken. They can call it
Mhm.
whatever they want it to call it. Because I mean, it's
Yeah.
their way of, naming a food that they want to eat. Or it's prepared in a way that normally chicken would be prepared. But
Mhm.
when you talk about fried foods, I absolutely love fried foods. I could
Yeah.
fry some mushrooms up like it's no joke. The French fries, like I love fried foods, Mackenzie.
Mhm.
But then I started to realize in my gut, the oils, all of that wasn't settling the way I wanted it to settle. Like it just didn't make me feel good sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not all things, but it's just like now looking at the grease, I'm just like,
Yeah.
hmm,
Was
let me
never
pass.
I was never a fried food person because it would just not, it didn't work well with me. I would be bloated, my stomach would hurt. I just felt sluggish. But I know many people who love fried food.
I agree. And I know a lot of people that love fried foods too. And I'm not even saying don't eat fried foods. I would just approach fried foods in moderation,
Mhm.
especially if your body's already told you that it's not something that you like already. All right,
Yeah.
so Mackenzie, I'm about to ask you like another question about Endo Care Collective, and then we're going to dive into the last two questions. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
So, Mackenzie, what are your future plans for the Endo Care Collective, and what are some upcoming projects or initiatives that you're really, really excited about?
I'm so happy you asked. So, my immediate future plans include, of course, having those monthly virtual meetings, and I'll continue to do period care box giveaways. If it takes me too long to build the box, I'll just Amazon it to you. It'll be there in 2 days if you win. And then just continuing to grow the support group on Facebook and have more people be interactive and talking there. And then my ultimate goal would be to do a 5K for Endo Care Collective and then donate the money to an endometriosis foundation. So that's the big plan. I'm doing my first 5K next week, and I've been a track runner almost my whole life. So I'm like, oh, that would be a perfect little way to, get people to come out. But those are the immediate, soon to come plans. But
I love that. I absolutely do. Would you do like an in-person 5K only, or would you also add a virtual component to it as well so other people who might not be in that physical still participate and support the 5K?
oh, I would do it so everyone can participate. Virtual, if you want to come in person, if you just want to watch, I might even live stream it. If you just want to watch me run, I know, then I really have to outdo myself. But yeah, I mean, when I think of the future of Endo Care Collective, I'm very hopeful and excited because ultimately I know my goal is just to share my story and provide a platform for others to share theirs. I don't want people to feel like you have to have an Instagram account dedicated to a chronic illness or endometriosis for you to be heard. outside of your immediate family. And that's something I kind of was feeling. I was like, oh, maybe I need to have an Instagram account dedicated to this, which ultimately I did create one, but it's for people so they don't feel like they need to create Instagrams dedicated to.
So I like that as a virtual option. So then that way
Mm-hmm.
it's a possibility that I can participate where I am, and others could probably do the same
Mm-hmm.
thing, and still be able to support the Endo Care Collective in whatever way that you're raising funds or raising
Mm-hmm.
awareness to be able to continue to send out the period boxes, and do special giveaways that your community would have. So I'm excited about supporting the Endo Care Collective in regards to all of that. And I'm happy for you. You said family. And so this next question is to all of the girl dads or the male role models for young girls, and
Mm-hmm.
or the partners, male partners for people, with those who may be experiencing endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome like symptoms. All right, because we clearly know it took you 9 years to get diagnosed,
Mm-hmm.
7 months for me. So if you're having these type of symptoms, how should these fathers, these male role models, these boyfriends, these husbands, these partners be able to support people with endometriosis?
Oh, I love that question. I'll say for me, my dad always believed me, for lack of a better word, when I was sick at school and he knew I was on my period. He was never making me feel embarrassed about throwing up and having to leave school. He would just come get me things that I needed. But the best way to support is just to be encouraging, because it can be very discouraging to continue to experience pain. My boyfriend, when he saw I was doing dietary restrictions, he bought a juicer and started juicing. So just being supportive in ways that you might not even think you're doing a lot, that made me smile, because it's like, oh, you're really trying to, encourage me and keep me on the right track. And I think just also not dismissing the pain just because you don't understand it, not being like, oh, well, you should be in pain. You're on your period. No, you shouldn't be. You really shouldn't. You should be able to walk. So just not being dismissive, listening, and of course, never making anyone feel embarrassed that they're experiencing this pain or shameful. Like, oh, you should be doing more. Other people do more. You know what I mean? Because it looks different for everybody. So, yeah.
I love that response. That was good. And I hope someone learned something from that. I like not dismissing them. I like being supportive. I like finding ways to show up to help them with the healthier habits and lifestyle changes, getting the juicer. If you're somebody who needs like a heating pad, purchasing them a hot water bottle, a uterine massage belt, that they can go with, the day throughout the day and still have that heat, still have that, massage stimulating that abdominal pelvic area. So I like all of those different things. Looking, actually, if you want some tea, are there certain herbal teas that your
Oh,
body
yep.
responds
He
to
would
while
make.
you're on that? Like purchasing
Mhm.
you some tea
Mhm.
regarding that, walking with you, not just say go out there and walk. Because a lot of times, and I know you said it before, you see people out here on their period running. Girl, me and Spencer out there walking 4 miles on my period. I was like, I would have never. In my mind, I had it made up. My period is on. I have to be balled up. I need to be in the bed. I can't do anything because, oh my God, my period is on. And it's
Mhm.
total opposite once you're starting to get in alignment with your body and you can do things. But being able to have people who are bleeding for 1 week, 2 weeks, into a month, going 2 months, nonstop bleeding and trying to figure out what's going on with their body, whether it's fibroids or PCOS, like having people in the house, and even people who might not even be living in the house, support you through all of that, because you don't know what's going on with your body. It matters. So
Mhm.
just saying, how can I help you? And not just saying, oh God, you still having this problem you haven't figured
Oh,
out yet.
that,
Like, oh, here you go again, saying
yeah.
the same old things. Like,
Mhm.
if you know you can't be supportive, then just remove yourself from the equation, because all of that's going to do is make the person experience it feel even worse. All right. Last question. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
If you could have a meal with any historical figure, who would it be and what would you all eat?
What? I have, oh my goodness. And I love history. So the fact that you're asking me this, but any historical figure,
Any historical figure, who would it be and what would y'all eat?
There's a really good restaurant that I like that's in Columbus, and it's called Lindy's. So that's what we would have.
Columbus, Ohio.
No, it's a traditional American restaurant, but I love it.
Okay.
So that's what we would eat. Any
Wait, we
historical
missed it.
figure.
It glitched out. It glitched out. What would
Oh,
y'all
I'm
eat?
sorry. We would go to that restaurant and I would get
And
something
what's
there.
and what's the restaurant?
Lindy's in
And what are
Columbus.
you getting to eat?
I'm getting shrimp risotto. And
Mm.
it's so good. So good. And it has asparagus in it. There's the vegetable. And I think tomatoes.
And
Historical
who are
figure.
you going to Lindy's with to
Hmm.
have this shrimp risotto? Who is this historical figure you're eating this empowered plate with?
I cannot believe you asked because this is a really thought provoking question for me. Not you said. I would say this is gonna sound so cliche because I can't think of anybody else. Harriet Tubman. I can't think of anyone
You
else.
going with Harriet Tubman?
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
And why Harriet Tubman?
Because I want to ask her all about her experiences and how she even got started doing what she was doing and how she was so courageous, and ask her, maybe even ask about endometriosis and if she had painful periods. I just can't imagine back in the day experiencing stuff like that, like how we have medicine and stuff and surgeries. I couldn't imagine, but that's a
You
good
know what came to mind when you said that? You said in
one.
asking her about her experiences and her excursion, she came back for people. She reached a certain
Mhm.
level of freedom and she came back for people. That's nothing different from you experiencing what you experienced for 9 years. And
Uh-oh.
now you're coming back to people to
Mhm.
help them as the Endo Care Collective, to be that support group, to provide resources, to allow them to have a space to share their stories. I got a diagnosis, plenty of them. There's no cure, but I need to figure out how I can reverse my symptoms, reduce the chronic pain, eliminate the stress, regulate my period. I'm coming back for whoever wants me to help you on that journey, like to
Mhm.
empower you, to help you figure it out. Not to say I know exactly what you need to do, but we're going to have the time to figure it out and explore in a safe, positive space. We're coming back for people. We're not leaving them behind. So I think that Harriet Tubman was an amazing, empowered life for you to be able to say that's who you're going to have that shrimp risotto, was it?
Yes, have my shrimp
With
risotto
with the asparagus and I
with
think you said tomato.
asparagus and tomatoes.
Yes, I think that was awesome. So, Mackenzie, I want to thank you for being on the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. Let everybody know where they can find you. Let everybody know if they want to be a part of the Endo Collective, where they need to pull up to, and
Oh,
why they should join. Talk that talk, Mackenzie.
you should pull up to Endo_Care Collective on Instagram. And from there, you can click the link in my bio and it'll take you right to the Facebook support group. You should join because you'll not only probably make friends, lifelong friends, but these will be people that share similar experiences with you, similar experiences as you, and understand what you're going through. So that's why I said we're not just limited to endometriosis. We can serve you in any pelvic disorder. And like you said, not that I know exactly what you need, but I definitely can point you in the right direction. Or there's someone else that can. If I can't, I have no problem kind of passing that off to anyone else in the support group. But yeah, that's where you can find me. And I hope you join. And thank you so much for having me. This was wonderful, really. It was great.
I'm glad you had an amazing time. Y'all, it's your healthy habits and lifestyle coach, Joe Bonnie. In the link in the description of this video, you have a free anti-inflammatory guide. Go get your guide. Start working on phasing out the things that cause inflammation and start phasing in the things that's going to help you reduce your chronic pain, help you regulate your period, but most importantly, show you ways that you can eliminate stress, like good sleep hygiene, getting in 7 to 9 hours, making sure that you show up for you every single day, and get like some smoothie and juice recipes as your way of starting to incorporate fruits and vegetables into your daily life until you start creating those beautiful, empowered plates. If you're looking for a healthy habits and lifestyle coach, the link is there too to tap in so we can chit chat and talk about what it is that you need and how I could best support you on your healing journey. But y'all, most importantly, you heard her talk about the pain she was experiencing. We talked about hot water bottles. We talked about the uterine massage belt. You have weighted blankets. Yeah, there are products on the Shopify page that could actually help you with reducing chronic pain. Things that you can get your herbal tea mug sip on in style, all in. But check out the store and see if there's some products that could provide you some support today. All in the link in the description of this video. Mackenzie, it was absolutely a pleasure. I know we did not end up in the Good Vibes studio today, but I felt like the good vibes were all throughout this episode. And I hope people have been able to get some type of empowerment for their own healing journey. Remember, it is your journey. We're not here to tell you what you should and should not do. We're just here to let you know what we've done. And we just want to empower you along the path that you choose for yourself. But y'all, it's been another episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. We out this mother. Thanks for vibing with me, y'all.